Oh, Azhag, you used to be such a world beater, a destroyer of all that is good and holy, but these days you have been relegated to the far, far third row behind Grom and arguably Skarsnik as well. But here we are today facing off against Ryder Rohan. This is one from a recent patron practice session where we pretty much exclusively focused on Greenskins versus High Elves. A lot of the games went a certain way, but this one was a little bit more even because I didn't take Grom. Gone with a little bit of a boar build here. I've got some boar biggins, some boar boys over here, wolf rider archers, rider archers spread around through the center. We've got some goblins, one stone troll here, nasty skulkers, 8 loons as well, orc shaman, goblin big boss, more boar boys over on the side. White lions in the center for Ryder Rohan here. He's got some dragon princes as well, archers, phoenix guard, silveren guard also, and like Archmage of Life on foot leading the way. Gonna immediately pop a regrowth on these white lions here just to kind of pre-heal them, keep them fighting in the front line. Dragon Prince is also going to charge into the stone trolls, so going all in to nuke this unit of stone trolls right off the bat does make a lot of sense. Also an Earthblood here. That regrowth on the white lion is actually able to still mostly sustain them through this fight. They're just straight up beating the stone trolls there, so although healing cheap units is not always the best, sometimes it can actually work. I say cheap, they're relatively cheap, kind of more of a mid-tier unit, but Boar Boy Biggins moving in here, Fists of Gork on them. I've also got an Orc Shaman just to cast additional spells. The reason I brought Azhag here is so that he could try and buff up the sort of cavalry, fly around and give him some extra melee attack, maybe extra melee defense in a pinch as well. Wah being popped now. Unfortunately, this archer line is pretty well protected. My micro is a little bit sloppy in trying to get back into it. We're going to get these skulkers in, try and get at those silveren guard here, but again, I'm a little bit late actually getting the order into attack there, and Ryder Rohan's able to reinforce the dragon princes and the phoenix guard, try to block my path a little bit here. The Gabo War Boss, though, and the Orc Shaman are going to get in here and just absolutely assassinate this Archmage of Life. Trying to heal herself back up, but it's really not a great day for her. She's quite a squishy foot character. They need Stabbing currently active. Spirit Leech also going to be used. The Orc Shaman comes in. He's a pretty good combatant. He's got 300 weapon strength, 70 charge bonus on that boar. Not to mention, of course, the Spider Bro. He's pretty decent stats as well. So that's not going to be great for the Archmage. A couple of big hits right there will probably send her packing, but the Dragon Princes do eventually come in and reinforce. The low armor of these two means they probably will take quite a bit of shock damage there. Yeah, you can see the HP starting to drop. Azhag comes in, trying to get proc a terror out here, but the White Lions hold firm against the Goblins. Meanwhile, my Cav Force eventually does get through, and we start to shut down some of these archers. Regular Orc Boar Boys do have shields, so they've got a missile block chance, but the Biggins do not. They do have heavier armor, but still, they are going to be somewhat vulnerable to that archer fire. A little bit of a brain burster here. For Silveren Guard have magic resistance, so it's not going to do as much against them, but still do a little bit of damage. And I'm just trying to collapse the Dragon Princes if I can to open up the rest of these archers for attack. But the infantry fight hasn't really gone my way at all. There's still way too many Silveren Guard left, especially considering I brought sort of cavalry-centric build, and Azhag really hasn't done anything at all. I mean, he's come in and got a tiny bit of value like Spirit Leeching and a bit of damage to the caster as well, but generally the support really hasn't been there. Unfortunately, the Ard armor has a pretty long cooldown, relatively short uptime. I mean, 38 seconds is pretty decent, but likewise, just the archer pressure means I haven't been able to really reinforce my cavalry with the Slaga Slashes as much as I would have liked. Dragon Prince is also in the center here. Again, continuing to shut down the Orc Boy Biggins, although we are doing some substantial damage in return. It's just too much support at this point. The archers have been able to use up almost all of their ammunition very cost effectively, and it's going to be a relatively quick loss for me, even though, again, we were able to come and do some pretty good work, but these Phoenix Guard basically completely healthy at this point. Probably should have been Spirit Leech with the Dragon Princes the whole time. I feel like maybe I was, just to chew away models here and there, but like even that one Spirit Leech that was put onto the caster, Archmage of Life, was probably arguably wasted. Probably should have just used that on more Dragon Princes, but you live and learn. A little bit of terror here, a little bit of rear charge from the Orc Boar Boys. Azhag's Ard armor puts them up to 95 armor with additional melee defense as well, up to 56, but it's not enough, although we do route the Dragon Princes there as sort of a spiteful revenge, I'm going to hit army losses at 501 mark. So there it is. Great job to Ryder Rohan. Figured I would show that one off since, yeah, again, most of the games we had in this matchup went a different way. And I'm not going to show them just because, again, it's just us practicing a matchup that is notably very tough for High Elves, but sometimes you can win, especially when you take sort of off-meta Greenskin stuff. Azhag, definitely not ideal on the Wyvern. I mean, there's a lot of risk taking him here. Tempest, Dragons, massive archer lines. Not even that massive of an archer line, but just my inability to really use my cavalry effectively to get to them. You see, some of the boar boys did pay for themselves. A lot of them didn't. Biggins are pretty solid. I'm definitely a huge fan of Orc boar boy Biggins. And in general, the Greenskins boar cavalry is very strong. Greenskins cavalry in general, their heavy and light cavalry, all is really strong. I think they're secretly one of the better cav factions in the game. Might be sitting around like number 5 or higher. I'm not sure. Have to really sit down and think about it. But Azhag's definitely not the best support. I mean, he's okay, especially against a faction that may lack flying and range, like, I don't know, Beastmen maybe, where that mobile terror can actually be pretty decisive in certain situations. But again, you're just putting yourself behind the 8 ball by not taking Grom. So if you really, really, really want to win, take Grom. But if you want to have fun, take literally anyone else. Archmage of Life does a great job healing up the Dragon Princes, although she definitely paid the iron price. Dragon Princes did get a ton of value. One of them in particular, 2,600, 16,000 damage dealt. Very impressive. The Phoenix Guard just ran around in circles the whole time, unable to catch anything, but they did survive completely healthy until the late game, so that's great. White Lions, that initial heal on that one White Lion when it was fighting the Stone Troll, I didn't catch that live, so I was actually pretty surprised. I was like, how's the White Lion still alive? But it actually does make sense. And I do like healing infantry like that occasionally. In a tactical kind of heads-up move from Ryder Rohan, that's a very... I think I talked about it in a recent video, too, about healing infantry. Like, the biggest thing is to try and hit the infantry when they have as many unit models alive, as you don't get necessarily as much overhealing, and because your healing doesn't resurrect unit models, right, with Lore of Life, so it's important to try and keep as many, with multi-model units, it's important to try and keep as many models alive at a time as you can. And you know, I think in my example I talked about healing foot squatters, I want to say, but specifically, I mean, really any unit like 700, 800 plus, not the worst idea to try and heal. Again, tactically, typically you'll see that big regrowth on something like 1400 plus Pegasus Knights or on the Dragon Princes themselves, but that was a great little use of that in order to just win a specific engagement pretty decisively, because Stone Trolls had been a unit that it was one of the units that Ryder Rohan requested to practice against because it had been giving him a lot of issues, which is understandable. Stone Trolls are a very strong unit in a number of ways. Not the best sustained combat stats, but huge resistances for magic and missile resistance, making them very tough opponents. 70 armor, also not a ton, but it is enough that they are really tanky, basically, against a lot of different stuff. But in just a straight-up melee with a good armor-piercing unit like White Lions, especially with martial prowess active, they've got really nice stats. As long as they can keep from getting beat up too bad, then they'll do just fine. They actually have very similar HP overall as a unit, but again, the White Lions, because they'll start losing unit models very quickly in that engagement, normally, you know, that killing power would start to drop faster. So even though they're doing HP damage, of course, there's a regeneration as well, which I'm kind of not factoring in. But anyway, all that to say, I love that use of regrowth there from Ryder Rohan. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.